folks, a wee apology there for the interruptions in the broadcast. I was changing over to the mobile because I've got my notes on my phone. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. We're about to get the speakers and the artists to start the rally proper. Hope you enjoy the day. Keep sharing, keep liking, spread as much as you can. We need your help. Cheers. We're ready to go. Yeah? Yep. Right.
Zei je? We komen gewoon ervoor nemen. Ja? Nou, wat heb je dan hier? I'm going to move this monitor as well later on, huh? So, yeah. I'm not Lemmy.
Okay. So you going to move this?
Yeah, probably. Anyway, later on, if it's fine, put them out front.
Right. Just let me know when I'll move.
Yeah. People can stand in front of the tent. Well, probably right at the end.
So folks, we're just about to start the rally proper. I hope you're receiving the feed well enough. Give us some comments and feel free to join in with the fun and festivities.
Yeah, I'll give you do a link to my Facebook page as well. If you just I've just opened the site. So I'll figure it out when I go back to the shop.
Just type in the just copy that to copy and paste it to
Right, take care. Thanks. Thank you. Right, sorry I kind of hang around for a few. You'll be watching it. Take care, man. See ya. All right.
So that people can see it. Yep.
And is it right here? No, the tablet.
The tablet. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
We good? Yep.
All right, everyone. We're just about to start.
Oh, it's under here.
Here.
The only thing is, if we put them on the blame page,
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 3rd annual rally for Scottish independence in The Hague. It's weather's not that good now. The rain should go away in not too long, so probably be fine. Well, then again, it's Holland, so. There are some people that unfortunately couldn't make it. Gabriel Sheridan couldn't make it. Her grandmother, Tommy Sheridan's mother, fell ill, and she was rushed to the hospital, so they couldn't make it. Patrick Rowling, not going to be here, also family emergency. And the Pirate Proclaimers, Dave Llewellyn and Captain Jack McSporran, as we know, and they're not here. And getting anybody? I'm not sure. Well, if I do forget and you're watching, I apologize. Pete Scally, yeah.
We were talking about it last
Sorry,
night.
Pete. Fine. Why are we doing this now for three years in a row? It needs to. We need to get the message across in Europe. Hardly. It just amazes me that nothing gets said on mainstream media here. Well, then again, it's mainstream media. Like in Great Britain, you get lied to every turn you make, but over here there's absolutely nothing in the media, and that's why it surprised me that I was contacted by a national newspaper, and they wanted to do an article, and they did. Last Thursday I was in the AD newspaper, the local one here, and did a pretty good article. So if you are able to watch it, go do so. We have a couple of good musicians and speakers here for you today, and first up, Amanda Brown. She's going to do a few songs for us. So.
The beautiful, the wonderful Amanda Brown.
Oh, you are too kind to me. Right, oh, that's going to do this one as a bit pressure here. The only reason there's pressure is because I've never really done this before in any rally, but there's a guy that's not here today, and he's been a trooper, and he's always kind of stood alongside me. His name's Kevin Gore, and I've wanted to do one of his for a wee while, but I mash up his verses a lot, I won't lie. So I'm going to give this a wee bash, so I hope he's enjoying. This is Independence Day. I was walking down the road today, still my F.I. John. A stranger, he approached me to tell me I was wrong. Said I was a dreamer, let him have to say. I said, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. And when that day I'm dreaming of comes along for sure, we will have a country where all can be assured. Nation of equality, fairness and respect. Where the government you vote for is the government you get on Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. And I'm no anti-English, Northern Irish or the Welsh. I'm just dreaming of a country that distributes its wealth. Downtrodden people who have opportunity to break the chains and free themselves from the depths of poverty. On Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. But I know I am fortunate. I know how well off I am compared to those in Syria or in the Palestine. Just dreaming of a country that one day will be free to determine her own future and people's destiny on Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. Thank you. There we go. And now that I've done that once in public, it'll probably be a lot easier. Anyway, thanks, Kevin, for your song. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is a wee Gaber Lindsay song. I love this one. She says, and then she had a green blank. In days gone by, Scots working man was loyalty his feudal clan for what was wrong or what was right. His cause was always Scotland's fight. And I was born East Scotia's hills, my heart with Highland grandeur fills. His overthrown feet, freedom has put to sleep. Bruce and Wallace crack the banners that fettered loyal Scottish hands, and for a while our land was free. Then came the shame of 1603. King James the Christian's wisest fool forsook his name, the South to rule. His hopes turned to Stuart's son, who vainly faced the Loddon's guns. Berwick North to Johnny Groats, the lairds of Dawn, their Saxon coats, and who for Scotland freedom stood, soon drowned in Westminster's blood. They laboured neath the Saxon yoke. MacGregor's name shall ne'er be spoke. The hills are overrun with sheep. Freedom has been put to sleep. Times have changed, the years have gone, yet English justice lingers on. Our working men, as in the past, betrayed by Saxons, ruling class, Celtic bow. I fear no hell or English strife. For Scotland I'd give my life. Like I know you guys would too. Thank you. I'm a wee bit kind of, a wee bit clumsy today, but it's because I had about an hour's sleep. I was on an early flight today. I'm not getting the morning at all. And I had everyone laughing at me, falling asleep, sitting up and stuff. So, this next one I'm going to do, hopefully this will stay in tune. I just love it. Scots way, my Wallace fled. Scots one Bruce has oft times led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Now's the day and now's the hour. See the front of battle hour. See approach proud Edward's power. Chains and slavery. What could be a traitor name? What could fell a coward scream? Was it peace to be a slave? Let him turn and flee. What for Scotland's king and law? Freedom's sword will strongly draw. Free man stand and free man fall. Let him follow me. By oppressions, woes and pains, by your sons in servile chains, we will train our dearest friends, but we shall be free. Laid up proud and summers low, tyrants fall with every blow, liberty with every foe. Let us unity. Scots way, Wallace led. Scots one Bruce has oft times led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Thank you. Thanks very much. I'm going to see if this, if our very last one, just before I maybe come back later. I'm going to do Scotland the Brave. The funny one. Just because I like it. Land of the purple heather, land of the dirty weather, land where the midges gather, Scotland the brave, land that is fully fannies, Andy Murray and Sardy Sannies, land where they sell their grannies, Scotland the brave. Used to sail feathers day, you could hear the bagpipes play, but all you hear is the regal tones of Elton John and the Rolling Stones. Land that is full of stinkers, buckfast monks and beefy drinkers. Whiskey puts a lot of stinkers into Scottish graves. Land that is full of skivers, comic singers, deep sea divers, turbans on our buskin drivers, Scotland the brave. Land of the brutal bobby, councillors with part-time jobbies, architects with paying hobbies, Scotland the brave. Tourists come here every year to see all our historic gear. All you see is loads of Aldis, high-rise flats and council levys. Land of the the brave. Land of the Celt and Sporran, underneath there's nothing warren. How we wish the wind was warm, Scotland the brave. You must admit it's pretty gruesome, walking about with a frozen twosome. So you got, you mustn't lose 'em, Scotland the brave. Conservatives try to assure us Labour doesn't need to endure us. BBC curbs our enjoyment, government makes unemployment. Never mind, the day is near, but independence will be here. There's a class you all not hear, Scotland the brave. There's a class to all not hear, Scotland the brave. Thank you.
That was, ladies and gentlemen, that was Amanda Brown.
Thank you very much. Here we go. Shall I just pull out? I'm sure that's what my dad said. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I have to be really careful. I pulled the whole end out before. Here we go. Excellent. I'll just give you that. Thanks, guys.
Amanda Brown. Before I introduce the first speaker, I want to direct you to the merchandise stand. For a nice variety of merchandise, bracelets, flags, and everything. We also sell raffle tickets with some really great prizes. The main prize.
Hey, that's the German flag you just dropped.
A great artist, Kevin Larkin. You might know his brother, Wee Scribbles. And he actually lives in The Hague. So the main prize, he donated this piece. If I can open it. Oh, there we go. This is the main the Celtic thing in there. That's going to be the main prize. Tickets only €1 each and 5 for 4. And with every €5 you spend at the merchandise stand, you get a free raffle ticket as well. One other thing, we also are doing a wee collection. 50% of that only goes to us. 50% goes to a very good cause. You might know them, Sandra and John Colbert. John Colbert is really sick at this moment. He's in the hospital as we speak, and we are doing a donation for alternative medicine. So if you can spare, we can at the merchandise stand you can make a wee donation if you can. Well, our first speaker is Colin McPherson from Germans for Scottish Independence. He's been here every event that we did here. So, Colin, you're almost part of the family. You're a family now. So, Colin McPherson.
Hello, The Hague. Hello, Scotland. Hello, Europe. Hello, the world. We are not getting back in our box. Big thanks to Raymond for organising this great event once more. There weren't that many of us here today. That's not a problem. We'll certainly may have folk than Manky Jacob go back in Glasgow at the start of the month. Well, having said that, had he come over today, he might have got a wash. Weather today, typical Scottish weather, and proves the point that we all know, the classic Scottish proverb, ne'er cast a croot till May's out.
She's on her way.
She's on her way. It's going to be tops off in June in Scotland. The folk were faced with the prospect of Boris Johnson as the next Prime Minister. He maybe won't get it. In the Tory party, it's quite often the case that the front-runner doesn't win the leadership election. But think who else might be coming back instead of him. Rory Stewart. Remember, that's that Rory Stewart in 2014 presented propaganda on the BBC disguised as a historical documentary. Oh, yeah. We all remember it, so that could be our next Prime Minister. Or Penny Mordaunt even, or Andrea Leadsom. It doesn't matter which of the Tories win this leadership election. None of them is a friend to Scotland. And so, whoever wins, we have to keep the pressure on. They say now is not the time, we have to show them now is the time. And it'll be interesting to see what the story is with a Section 30 order. I personally think we don't need one. I hope and appeal to the Scottish Government and the SNP that they have a plan up their sleeve when, as will surely happen, the next Prime Minister surely again says, no, now is not the time. Because now is the time. If we want our independence, it's up to us to take the independence. And of course, as Ryman said in his opening remarks, mainstream media is also not a friend of Scotland. We know what happened in the run-up to the referendum of 2014. We know what's been happening ever since. We hear of maybe a few hundred marching in Glasgow when it's 60,000 and more. So what do? We become the media. We make our own media, and we have our friends from Independence Live who are live streaming us across Scotland and across the world. And they need and deserve our support, especially for me, I stay in Germany, so I don't make it over to Scotland to many of the marches and rallies or other events that various Yes groups are organising all over the country. But I can sit on my couch in Straubing and watch the events thanks to Independence Live. They do a great job, they deserve your support. We also, you may not know, have recently started a radio station, Indie Live Radio. Again, I can recommend it. There's always great music, great conversation in it. And on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays and Sundays, you got the fabulous Jabberwocky with his mixed bag, a wee music quiz just to while the night away. Listen to it. You don't want to be listening to Radio 2, Radio Scotland, Radio Clyde. Listen to Indie Live Radio. And friends, of course, there's also another very valuable network, Broadcasting Scotland. Again, they need your support. They are also producing more and more programmes talking about things that matter to everyone that lives in Scotland. So support the independence media. Don't support the mainstream media. So friends, whatever happens with Brexit, it shouldn't really matter for us, because Scotland will be an independent country again. And when Alan Smith stood up in European Parliament after the Brexit referendum and said that Europe shouldn't let Scotland down because Scotland didn't let Europe down, this is what events such as Ryman here in The Hague organises, such as what we organise in Berlin. We were in Berlin in March, again a great event, because we want to show Scotland, but also Europe, that Scotland's place as an independent country is at the heart of Europe. There will be a light left on for Scotland in Europe. That light will never go out, and I look forward very, very soon to seeing Scotland returning to the heart of Europe as an independent nation.
Thank you, Colin.
That was, ladies and gentlemen, Colin McPherson from Germans for Independence.
Well, what are we here to do? We are here to fight for Scotland's freedom, but we also don't close our eyes to other countries that are oppressed. We are supporting Tibet, we are supporting Palestine, but we also are supporting Catalonia. And we have here from the Catalan National Assembly, Mr. Miguel Portal.
Yeah.
Close enough. All right. Miguel.
Thank you, Raymond. My knowledge of the English and my capacity to improvise is not as good as Colin, so...
Sounds perfect from here.
No? Okay. We hold this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain alienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In ancient history, government was based on the strength to hold the sword and the ruthlessness to use it without remorse to remove competition. In some cases, this evolved into cooperation, such as in the Catalan Consell de Cent or the Scottish Parliament, both tracing their origins into the 13th century. This implied evolution of power away from a ruling king, whose powers were supposed to come from God, or so was told. But the American Rebellion turned this perspective upside down. People joined together and decided how they wanted to be organized. Their explicit consent entrusted the government with the legitimacy to rule the nation. No government can call itself legitimate if it is not derived from the will of the people, and if it does not have its consent. Consent meaning yes, by the way. I'm sure all of you know that, but apparently many people across Europe don't. Scotland is a globally recognized nation, and it has been so for centuries. Many of its signs of identity, the bagpipe, the tartans, the kilt, or the whiskey, are well known. That's something that you can be proud of. Anywhere in the world, you can declare yourself to be Scottish, and your answer will be respected. Queen Elizabeth is your monarch only with your consent.
And we no longer consent.
What Catalans achieved in October 2017 was to establish ourselves as a nation politically recognized, not because of the result of our referendum, or thanks to the declaration of independence of our President Puigdemont, but because millions of people decided to unite and disobey a king as legal as it is empty of legitimacy, and vote against the opposition of the state and its instruments, police, military, newspapers, ruling class and judges. We voted. And we won. We won the right to be recognized. We demonstrated that the current head of state and its government do not have our consent, and as such, they are not the legitimate rulers of Catalonia.
Here, here. Here, here.
Thanks. We are grateful of your invitation to speak here now, because that is an example of recognition of our existence as a nation, that, same as the Scottish, the Quebecois, the Sahrawis, the Palestinians, or the Kurds, are trying to obtain self-rule. We may not be free, but our voice is reaching farther and farther. We exist, and because our struggle is peaceful, we're gaining attention and support. For over 700 years, the Catalan counties were self-governed, till Castile brutally conquered them in 1714 during the War of Succession. Since then on, the Catalans suffered oppression, loss of freedom and institutions. It became a habit for the Spanish government to bomb Barcelona every 50 years. Catalonia has since been forced to be Spanish and damn the consent of the governed. Since it was conquered, 4 independent republics have been declared in 1873, 1931, 1934, and 2017. During practical dictatorship, there was an extreme persecution of any idea contrary to the regime. And being Catalan was just that. Our language was banned, Catalan culture destroyed, imprisonment, torture, murder. Over 11,000 people from the Catalan-speaking lands were killed, and over 200,000 had to exile. Unfortunately, when the dictator died, transition happened without the change. Franco gave the crown to the Bourbon here and made him king, so his kin and chaps could maintain their booty and privileges. From a certain perspective, that makes a strange woman lying in pounds distributing swords sound like progress. The big shots of Franco regime maintain their position. Politicians, judges, and military continues as if nothing had changed. It is important to point out that the Constitutional Court, supposed to guarantee basic rights in Spain, is appointed by the government, along with the majority of the forces in the parliament. Separation of powers is a mirage. We have tried to fit in Spain, but we have found it is not possible for Catalans. More than 20 laws on issues such as gender equality, protection of the most vulnerable, taxes for banks, social security law, law for support for cultural production, renewable energies or animal rights were approved in the Parliament of Catalonia and later cancelled by the Spanish government. Catalans want to live in a 21st century European country instead of a repressive old empire. Sadly, many Spanish citizens are happy with the government, not for what it achieves, but for what it stops Catalonia from achieving. That is why, October 1st, 2017, more than 2 million Catalans participated in the referendum of independence against all threats, protecting the polling stations, organizing ourselves to man the polling stations. Punishment for the revolution was the brutality of paramilitary police, Spanish police against voters. Demonstrators, mayors, reporters are being prosecuted. Freedom of expression no longer an argument. 9 elected candidates have been jailed without trial or bail, abusing the measure of pre-trial detention for more than 18 months. 7 politicians have been forced into exile to avoid being imprisoned. Belgian, Scottish, and Swiss justice turned the European arrest warrants down. German justice discarded the trumped-up charges of rebellion. The judges involved in the current trial against the political prisoners have been handpicked to ensure that the ruling goes in a certain direction. We are not defeated. We will not be defeated until we surrender, which I do not see happening. We are up against the remnants of an old and large empire that fights to keep one of its few remaining colonies, no matter the cost. Violence, fake news, underhand diplomacy, all is valid against the Catalans. Justice has been prostituted with decisions based on explicit political motivations. Media is in a state of war against truth. Human rights have been sacrificed to the greater good of the ruling class. Our representatives are kept hostages to force surrender. Extortion is being used on other representatives or reporters that did not bend to the will of Madrid. In your struggle for independence, you have the full support of the Catalan people. Yours is a peaceful, legitimate, popular movement. You have achieved positive progress, and we wish that Scotland becomes whatever the Scottish citizens want it to be. The brotherhood between the Scottish and the Catalan nations will help us achieve our goals. I did not introduce myself at the beginning, and rightly so. I am nobody but one of the millions of citizens who are guilty of taking part in the referendum. My name appears in the poster. I am Miquel, but I am nothing more than a member of the Catalan National Assembly, an independent, not-for-profit organization that aims to work for the establishment of Catalonia as a new European state through a peaceful and democratic process. And that I happen to live nearby, and I have a great appreciation for Scotland, its Scottish people, and haggis. That is why I close with words that Robert Burns would say. Here's to us, what's like us, damn few, and they are dead. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. What really enraged me about the whole Catalan situation Wait for the introduction.
Sorry. She's eager.
What really enraged me in the Catalan situation is how can you justify in a peaceful protest elderly people in a wheelchair being bloodied. It's and I've been so angry at our government, for instance, or every European nation basically that said nothing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Moving on. I know she wants to play, so. The next musician basically is one of the family as well. She's been here for all three events. Miss Tina Juneman.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to be back. The sun's coming out, yeah. First song, it's traditional, it's Scotland Forever. Days are gone, oh my heart, my home, where our fathers fought to be free. Now we have our say, we should lead the way. Once more, old Scotland forever. Proud and brave, oh my fathers gave for the right to think as we do. Now in freedom's name, we would stand again. Once more, old Scotland forever. High above this land that I love, there's a flag that belongs to be free. Let the banners fly in the Scottish sky. Once more, old Scotland forever. Days are gone, oh my heart, my home, but in memory still they remain. So proud to be in a land that's free. Once more, old Scotland forever. Once more, old Scotland forever. Thank you. Next song is Ted Christopher's song. I'm coming home. I did not close my eyes for the last time, and the Caledonian skies with my good friends gathered all around me to say their last goodbyes. I will not be forgotten in the heart of every Scot I still live on. Now it's time to fly the salt high. My spirit's coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Back where I belong. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. My spirit's coming home. They and never go away. I'm coming back to the land I love, to the people I hold dear, to Scotland, St. Andrew, and freedom. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Back where I belong. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. My spirit's coming home. Now I'm returning after all this time to Caledonia skies, to the country I died for, so that our nation could survive. Once again to stand beside the people I hold dear, for Scotland, St. Andrew, and freedom. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Back where I belong. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. My spirit's coming home to Scotland, St. Andrew, and freedom. Back to Scotland, St. Andrew, and freedom. This next one is also written by a friend of us, freedom fighter, it's by Ray Brown.
Yes.
Union men said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union men said that we can't have our own pot of gold. Union men said that you starve if you're old. Union men said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union men said that we're out in the cold and the dark. Union men said that our land has no heart. Union men said that we are all in the past. Union men, step aside, you had your chance. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We are lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Labour and Torymen tell us that we are too weak as to celebrate victory won by the man on TV. Too many questions and too many answers, you see. She posts his stories and lies by the BBC. I can see the road ahead, we're so close. We traveled so far, and this time everyone knows. We have to thank the one who fought for this land. Freedom for me and you, and Alex the man. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lights. Scotland called, so watch us rise. Stand in the square, show us you can fly your flag. And if you're a noble to join us, you won't be the last. Forget the old days, we will go down to the man. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the light. Scotland called, so watch us rise. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the light. Scotland called, so watch us rise. Scotland called, so watch us rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tina Uniman from Germans for Independence, and she's a adopted Scot. Just got to give a shout out to the Shetland Islands, Annan, Glasgow, Edinburgh, East Kilbride, Aberdeen, Lochaber, Falkirk, Dundee, Scottish Highlands, Ayrshire, and many, many more areas around the
We'll
world.
take a little bit of a break.
All
We're
listening
gonna
to
move
us.
the speakers up a bit because the sun is shining. So, all right, just give us a couple of minutes.
Thank you all very much. Keep watching.
Is dit gewoon eventjes? Waar die groot? Ja? Oh, die groot of?
Nee, die niet. Die niet. Alleen de monitoren.
You want that one out there too? Yeah.
Tussen? Ja? Ja? Oké.
Zo? Gewoon een klein beetje fluiten. Ja, een klein beetje nog. Test. Ja, zo. Ja, dan heel licht fluiten. Test. Ja. All right. All right. Up next, there are a lot of people from Scotland here, but we also have got a lot of people in the Netherlands here. And next speaker is a good friend of mine, Mr. Leon Pennings.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Raymond and the Scottish independence community for giving me the opportunity to speak here and now. First of all, I need to actually apologize because I never been to Scotland. The closest I ever got to Scotland is London, and I can imagine you don't like that. But I will.
You'll be
I
welcome
promise. Thank you so much. But my father has been to Scotland multiple times, and he said he's been to many countries, and he said that he's never ever been to a country where the people were so nice and wonderful. So a big thumbs up for that. But what do I have with Scotland? When I was a child and I heard for the first time a bagpipe song, it was actually Scotland the Brave. It was like some kind of magic spell to me. I wanted to know more things about this magical bagpipe country. I watched a series here on Dutch television. It was called Stookie. Maybe you know that. I heard about the legend of Loch Ness. And being a big football fan, I got to know that Ally McCoist is nothing more than a true legend. It depends on what club you were for, I think, yeah. But, wait. Da-da-da-da-da. And of course, I saw Braveheart. Who didn't see it? And I started supporting the Scottish national team, football team with European and World Championships, and supporting the underdog, because I love underdogs, actually. I've been an underdog myself all my life, but actually this underdog now has a great, has the most kind-hearted Bonnie Lassie from Estonia. Now, there are many similarities between Estonia and Scotland that I like to talk about. They are both relatively small countries, somewhere in Northern Europe. Both countries are blessed with beautiful nature. Both countries have great ancient castles. Both have a dark history and were or still are occupied by a bigger superpower. Estonia by the Russians and the Soviet Union, and Scotland by Great Britain. But most of all, the inhabitants of both countries are extremely proud of their countries and their heritage, and they are rightfully so. In the late 80s, a small movement started in Estonia to gain independence of the Soviet Union, just like this small movement right here and throughout Europe, the Scottish independence rallies. More and more people heard about it and started to support it. Eventually, and against all odds, this little country finally broke free from the big occupier and gained its independence. This shows that a small movement like the Scottish independence can lead to much bigger and greater things if you keep on believing and fighting for it. For the good cause, the greater goal. Because if Estonia can break free from the Russian occupation, then I am convinced that Scotland can one day break free and be what it deserves to be, an independent country. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. Our next speaker and musician is going to be Duncan McGaunt. You've seen him. He was the piper in front of the march. He's been actually here last year as well. Had a great time then, Mr. Duncan McGaunt.
Thank you, Rainer. He's done a great job in organising this, hasn't he, eh? And the rest I've spoken up until now, and it's all the truth. You know, I made a list once in my life with a few things on it that I was going to talk about. And where is that? It's still on my writing desk. So it's back to getting it out of the old stomach again. Scottish independence, very, very badly needed. Over 300 years, we've been under a dictatorship. It's not a government, it's a dictatorship over Scotland. And this dictatorship has got to end. The best way to do that would be give England their freedom. Freedom for England. Then we wouldn't have as much work with it as we would when Scotland goes independent. Nicola Sturgeon said it takes 5 years. Well, look what's happened at Brexit, what became Brexit. And it's a big shite now compared to what it was. We had the dictator, Mad May, the con woman. She's tried to con everybody, con her own government. She's lied all the way. But in Scotland, we've got a woman called Nicola Sturgeon, and she doesn't lie. She brings the truth, and she brings it straight forward. We can talk about it, and we can say we must be very, very lucky to have Nicola at the helm in the Scottish Parliament. Do you agree? Because if she wasn't there and the Tories were in, look at Ruth Davidson at present. What's she doing? Nothing. She's just slagging the SNP and independents. They've got no mandate at all, the Scottish Tories, just like the Labour. And I hope they're going to be washed out at the elections. They will?
We'll know on Monday.
We'll know on Monday. There'll be one or two of them maybe left. Maybe you'll get a fluffy back to Scotland. We don't need them at all whatsoever. Or they just lock them in a room somewhere else or put them into a cupboard. And you never know how you come out. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, these are difficult times at present due to Brexit. Brexit has caused a lot of uproar. It's cost a lot of money. It's cost a lot of austerity. Children in England, poverty-stricken, going to school and haven't had anything to eat at all whatsoever. The school meals in Scotland, the school canteens are open now over the holidays. The children can go in and get something to eat. But no, Mad May's government, she won't spend any money to get rid of austerity, to help the children, the future generation. They are suffering because of it. But she's got her money. All these Tory politicians are sitting back. They don't want another referendum. They don't want a people's vote because they know they're all going to lose their jobs. And they just can't live on the taxpayers' money anymore. They can't put new roofs in their old houses and their second houses and things like that. It's our money. It's your money that they're using for it. And why? Because they're a bunch of intellectual idiots. They just can't put a parliament together. They can't put a party together that's going to govern the country properly. They're just thinking of themselves and nobody else. The people don't mean anything to them. May jumps up in Parliament and has a go at Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn jumps up and has a go at me. What are they doing? They're doing nothing. They're doing nothing for the people at all whatsoever. It's just for themselves. It's about time all that stopped. And England goes free. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You know, that round of applause, it just went to my heart, I'll tell you that. You know? But if the English are looking at this, we're here in Holland. We're in a country that's in the European Union. This country is thriving. Just like every other country in the European Union is thriving. Little England is going to be soon, and they're going to be poorer than Greece was. They just don't realise in the industry the loss they're having. British Steel, 5,000 jobs, and how many jobs in the chain? And the Tory government just doesn't move to help them, to invest in them, even to nationalise it. It would help the people over there. Keep them, the families, keep them in their jobs. And the car industry, which international is, How many are moving out now and all? The banks have moved out. Poverty-stricken. That's what you can call it. The country and the people. They just don't care about them. And now, we've got a terrorist. The man with the German passport, called Nigel Farage. Yes. We hope he doesn't get the amount of votes that everybody's saying he's going to get. That people wake up. He doesn't mean anything at all. The last referendum that there was, who put his tail between his legs and ran away? One of the first was Nigel Farage, then Boris Johnson, then Cameron, and the rest of them. They don't need them at all whatsoever. But we're in danger now. And the Scottish Parliament never should be in danger from English dictatorship. We want our Parliament. We do it for the people. It's the people for the people in Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with that for this afternoon. All the best.
Ladies and gents, that was Duncan from Skye, our Piper on the March.
Thank you, Duncan. Our next speaker was actually here last year as well, from Pensioners for Scottish Independence, Ms. Mary McKay.
Hello, folks. Before I say anything about Pensioners for Independence, I want you to admire our new logo. It's a unicorn with attitude. It's a unicorn of the years of discretion, with wit and wisdom. And, well, she is anyone who's ever seen a cartoon can tell by the eyelashes she is a female. And she absolutely epitomises our mission in Pensioners for Independence, which is to persuade the 71% of people who voted no of over 60, which takes you quite mature, yes, of the years of discretion. Matured like good wine, but not good sense, apparently, because 71% of us voted no. And we're here as pensioners to tell them that they made a big mistake, and there's nothing to fear. Now, I think last time I probably mentioned the difficulty of accessing pensioners. You can access first-time voters easily, and you can access EU citizens. You can target them because they're marked in the voters' roll as such. But the voters' roll, being a tactful sort of thing, doesn't put dates of birth in. So you can't really target pensioners that way. And they live in among the girls and boys and women and men and dogs and cats in the general community, most of them. So it's hard to actually get hold of them. We try with stalls, but you know, when you're doing a stall, people who come up and talk to you tend to be yes people already. I mean, it's all very nice. I'm saying, oh, I've always been yes all my life. Oh, what have you got? Oh, badges. Oh, lovely yes. Do you know, when I do this, when I do that and everything, it's really good and it's warm and it makes us feel good. But we'd actually like to get to these people who are not as into politics, or not certainly, well, soft no voters is basically what we're trying to get. So we go up to people in the street who look like they might be on their bus pass, but there is an unfair stigma attached to looking older than your years, so we've got to be awfully careful it's not a 40-something who's led a very interesting life. But then we hit on a way to get into the places. There are places where senior citizens congregate, but quite often getting in there is dependent on the politics of the manager of the place. So we found a way to get in as entertainers. And this was how the Pensioners for Indie Warblers were born. Hatched. Do you know what the collective noun is for warblers? It's confusion. Now, I swear, if I ever knew that, I swear I'd forgotten it at the time. You see, old age is a terrible thing. You forget things. I forgot that when I thought, oh, that would be a lovely name for the Pensioners for Independence Singers, the band. So we're stuck with the Warblers. We don't call ourselves a confusion. We just say we're the Pensioners for Indie Warblers.
Good on you.
Now, what we do, we go into lunch clubs, tea dances, sheltered housing complexes, care homes, and we say, we don't hide the fact, we say we are a political group, we're Pensioners for Independence who want independence for Scotland, but we are not here to make political speeches, we're here to entertain you. So then we give out song sheets and we put the words up on the screen, and we start singing songs, Scottish songs, always Scottish songs, and of course we do give them the full political and historical background to every song that's got a political and historical background. And we're very, very much loved, particularly when we tell them that we won't ask for a fee, and we get asked back. So,
always a winner.
Yeah, so everybody's a winner, so what's not to like? So, today, in singing this wee song that I'm going to sing, the Warblers, we've grown to about 12 or 13 or 11 or so. The fact that I'm not entirely sure how many there are of us is not a reflection of my confusion, I swear it's not. It's because we hardly ever have a full contingent. Pensioners are terrible for going off on 5-week holidays. And a lot of them have things like grandchildren that they've suddenly got to drop things like singing for to go and watch. So we don't usually have them all, well, the whole contingent in one go. And in fact, on this occasion, the number of warblers who have managed to flutter their way across the rough North Sea to join you here is 1. Me!
You're the representative of all.
So, you're going to have to suspend your disbelief here and picture Madeline over there with the fiddle, Carol over there with the ukulele, Kathy over there with the keyboards or maybe the guitar, Jane over there with the recorder, and a lot of us strung out, birds in a wire, strung out like that, passing the microphone to each other for different verses. If it would help, I would take the microphone out and pass it from my right hand to my left with every verse, but then I might drop it. So I won't do that. You'll just have to use your imagination. So here we go with this song. Some of you, particularly of a certain age, might see it's got a slight similarity to an old Corrie's song. The Union, a Tragedy. May both the Scottish Unionists for a bobby, and then she spent $1 billion more to buy the DUP. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. Mate Teresa's in the parlour, eating bread and honey. Mandela's in the Scotland office, fiddling Scotland's money. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. Brexit is a boorer, we voted to remain. But Scotland's voice is just ignored and treated with disdain. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. Scotland is a bonny land, so rich in every way. For yet independence, and then we'll have our say. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. Westminster pushed through a law to pull Scotland's powers. The roaring rampant lion will claw back what's ours. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. Too long the UK government has hung on to the chains. The unicorn of Scotland is set to burst its chain. And we you, and we you, and we you were indie friends. We'll win our back with your Indy friends. For Scotland then, and Scotland now, and Scotland yet to be. The pensioners for Indy will help set Scotland free. And with you, and with you, and with you, our Indy friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. And with you, and with you, and with you, our Indy friends. We'll win our independence back with you, our trusty friends. I was told that the theme for this rally is youth. But I was told to define that as being between 15 and 86. And you know what? I fit into that cohort. So, just to bring home the message, to emphasise the theme of youth, and also to show that my generation is not a conservative generation, I thought I would read you a wee poem that I wrote 3 years ago. I wrote it for a festival called the Yes, Arts and Literary Festival. Now, in this occasion, Yes does not mean what I think you probably think it means. It stands for Yarrow, Ettrick and Selkirk, and it's actually an annual literary festival they have down the borders. Now, the challenge on this occasion was to write a border ballad, telling a story, tum-ty-tum-ty-tum, rhyming in Scots, but about a modern topic. So I took a leaf out of Pete Townsend's book and wrote about my generation. What could be more modern than that? And, of course, I wrote about demonstrations and protest marches. What else would I write about? But I didn't realise, nobody told me, that the person giving out the awards was the Duke of Buccleuch in his palace. And this led to a kind of strange conversation. After I read my poem out, the Duke of Buccleuch said, "You're quite right. The younger generation don't go on protest marches nearly as much as we did." I was like, right. And I tried to picture the Duke of Buccleuch in a protest march. And while I was straining my imagination for this, he added, "After all, nobody at all came out against the Iraq war, did they?" I looked to see if his palace was ivory. I think it maybe was. Yeah. So I said, well, I couldn't let that go. I said, well, actually, they did. And he said, really? Where? I said, 1 million in London, 100,000 in Glasgow, including me. And he said, really? Well, they didn't come here. So that was our mistake. We should have taken the march into rural Selkirkshire past his... Well, we could have stopped the war. Well, no, next time. Next time there's a war, which probably won't be very long, we'll do exactly that. And that's what I'll do. So meantime, here goes with the march of the baby boomers. We toddled through the 50s as the Iron Curtain closed. We joined the Brownies and the Boys' Brigade. On orange juice, cod liver oil, we blossomed like a rose. In the shadow of the bomb, we laughed and played. The parent generation disapproved of confrontation. Boys' hair was docked, the lasses' dresses lang. Our uncles on their call-up all called out for parade, while we Andy Stewart and Cliff, we sang along. Woo! But even then, there was a start. Wind of change, turning tide. Unanswered questions, rebel hurt, burning feeling deep inside. We would overcome someday. We demonstrated through the 60s, chanted ban the bomb, smoke rings and the paths of peace arose. With Che Guevara leading us, we all would overcome, cheering on the Glasgow Eskimos. And loads of us maintained Jack Kennedy was to blame, so out we came against our Uncle Sam. Hey, LBJ, accused and named with shame, the pair we murdered Waynes of Vietnam. With Beatles, Kinks and Rolling Stones, the trendies grooved along, with psychedelic strobe lights skiing at Laldy. Us folkies in our smoky clubs and rebel Kayleys sang that we would overcome them all someday. The oil went fish and sooth, the lion went rampant at the theft. developing my taste for revolution. With 3-day weeks and workings, I was steering to the left. We cast our votes in hopes of devolution. Maggie brung us out again. We wrote it in the walls. Nae poll tax here, and Sheridan was lifted. We put the hat round for the miners. Some of them lost their cause. The police brung the heavies in and blitzed it. Our wains were growing up now, and they didn't all approve. Das grey and ponytail, Ma's gallivanting. Thatcher's wearing suits and ties. I aim to self-improve and get a job in banking or financing. The millennium's turn brought change again. The swinging pendulum. Another holy grail had caught our notice. New parliament, new government, and now a referendum. With creaky knees we climbed the hill of protest. Women marched for the right to work, and I to have a wee in. To work for equal pay and bring up wains. Gays marched for the right to love, and I the right to marry. We shook fae off our minds the final chains. Our youth as came and went. We were the magic generation, fae student grants to final salary pensions. We weren't told to go to war, could join in demonstrations, felt free to give the finger to convention. We saw it all, the Berlin Wall, apartheid, deed in the water. Scotland's on the move again, evolving day by day. The rebels always in us. If they ask us, what's the matter? What have you got, we'll say, and don a route to join the fray. And so the baby boomers, wrinkly rockers one and all, into dawn, bright dawn with banners waving all the way. As long as blood's hot inward veins, we'll rise up to the call. We know that we shall overcome someday. Woo!
Thank you, Mary. Our next speaker is Mr. Andrew Duncan. Who is he? Andrew. Come on. Speaking and playing some music. No. No, what no?
Hello, the Netherlands. I'm here. I'm shiting myself, by the way. I've spent. I took off yesterday morning at 2 o'clock from Inverness. Strikes, stuff. And I had a great speech made up, but it's not going to happen. What you're getting instead is an impromptu, improvised thing. And I'm needing somebody to hold my phone while I do this improvisation. So if there's any volunteers willing to hold my phone, right, this is going to be a Baran rap. I've been sitting there, as I say, a wee bit worried, not knowing what to say. I've got a Baran, I've got a speech, and this is a Bill MacDonald for Scotland. You'll have seen him, and he's an ingenious guy, and he says a lot of sense. So this is, I'm making it up as we go, by the way. So, have you heard, while I've been here, that politics of Britain is changing so quickly? I mean, this morning I woke up to Theresa May's leaving. Are you devastated?
Absolutely.
But it's a double-edged sword, remember. It's Theresa May or Boris Johnson, so what you hope for. But anyway, what I've got is a Baran, and I've got a few words, and I'm going to swap about. There's a few Scandinavian Viking dudes looking at us there. Europe, yay, aye. So, I can't really play this, but I'll get a go, okay? So, let me warm up. My speech is coming, aye. I say impromptu. Damn you, Holland. To explain Scotland's circumstances to those that don't live in Scotland. Scotland is controlled by a foreign government 500 miles away from here. We make 180 billion in revenue, GDP in brackets, and it's taken from us each year by the UK establishment. That's including oil, whiskey revenues and taxation, and they give us a budget of around 29 billion on average to fund Scotland's public services and allow for the Scottish Government to keep the country running. Get angry at this, because I am. That's why I'm here. Aye. So, they do this, and then they claim they subsidise us. Is that not funny? Aye. Subsidisation. It's a beauty. And then they spend Scotland's revenues, billions of pounds, on building high-speed railways, not even based in Scotland, which are already over budget and running years behind. What's that going to cost us? Aye, a few new hospitals. And then they want nuclear power stations that don't work. Well, they didn't work anyway. And then nuclear weapons that Scotland don't even want. They don't help us. They make us pay for something. Do you want nuclear weapons? No. Do I want nuclear weapons? Well, certainly. I'm not swearing because it's a civilised event. Aye. So, excuse me while I... trying to read this, you see. Aye, it's a wee screen, so... oh no, it went off. Wait. Pause. Yay. Wait. Oh, shite. Where's my memo? You can see this is... oh, Christ. Memo. Yes. Right, you can see how this is an impromptu thing. I could have went when in 1979 and the devolution process, which was a rip-off. I was 15 years old. That's the time I joined the SNP. But what you do, you waited all the years. It's getting closer and closer, and we're getting there. Theresa May went yesterday. We're getting there. Right, so we will go on. The UK government began austerity measures were cut to the deficit of around 144 billion and debt of 900 billion down to nothing. Austerity has not worked. The debt is now over 1.5 trillion. The cuts have destroyed the lives of millions of people. That's truth. You can see it. The emergency services, and they've claimed the lives of thousands. But the 120,000. There we go, from what I know. But they say the NHS isn't working in Scotland. Our police isn't working in Scotland. Yet we've got more police and less crime than they ever do in England. Why are they saying this? Why do they keep lying to us? All the time they lie. And this is what pisses me off the most. And I apologise for that word. They lie, and people believe. I've spent the last 3 months campaigning for the Scottish Nationalist Party. Some of you might not be SNP, but we've got the same agenda, independence. I've spent the past few months, I've been going around doors, working 12-hour days, and then going out campaigning, putting leaflets through doors, trying, and while watching Westminster fall apart. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But I don't wish bad on anybody. I don't hate England. I don't think anybody hates English. There's a few English people are total wankers, but there are a lot of good English people out there. They come up. I live in the Highlands. Pretty much 1/3 of the Highlands now is an English population. Do you want to kick them out? No. They bring in money. They bring in trade. They bring in ideas which us Scots who have sat in our squalor for hundreds of years and not had the imagination or the money to do anything about it. The English are bringing in this prosperity, but there is a thing that we say up in the north, fit in or... But you can't say that, because it's politically wrong, it's ethnically wrong. But there's these English people who live up there, they own the land, mind you. There's the biggest landowner in Scotland is a Dutchman, but he seems to be an okay kind of guy. And R.I.P. to his family that died recently. Brief hiatus in that. R.I.P. anyway. I apologise. Where was I on this? A ridiculous bedroom tax. Remember the bedroom tax in Scotland? Well, that was imposed and then created by the tax people in their properties, empty rooms. Yeah, the Scottish Government mitigated this by using its yearly budget so that people don't have to pay for it. Yay. The UK stores its nuclear weapons and submarines in Scotland. We've got the deepest locks, we've got the best water. If any disaster happens, we've got lowest population. 1 million Scots die, that's not a problem. It's better than 7 or 8 million Londoners dying. Excellent solution. Cheapness of being Scottish, I'm afraid. Brief pause, because my glasses have steamed up. Right. Aye, so, and even though three quarters of Scottish population want to see the end of nuclear armament, they're going to spend hundreds of billions to decommission and rebuild their nuclear arsenal in Scotland. It was once said that the weapons are better stored 25 miles from Scotland's biggest city of 600,000 people. And in the event of an accident, the societal contamination and damage would be tolerable, in brackets, compared to being stored in England. What does that tell you?
We're expendable.
We are very expendable. Scottish life is cheap, always has been cheap. Why is the British Empire so great? Because of Scottish lives. Aye. Right, okay. The UK Ministry of Defence have dumped nuclear waste in Scottish water. Now, this is a point. And are planning on dumping decommissioned nuclear submarines in the sea around Scotland as well, because they don't want to be dumping it in England. Although, if you've been around the English coast, the contamination, the pollution of English waters, because they've got too much of a pollution. The beauty of Scotland is we've got a wee population, the land is free, everything's clean, because we've not contaminated it yet. Anyway, that was a personal feeling from me. The UK government began austerity measures. Did I even mention that?
You did.
I did? Oh, bugger. Right, and the bedroom tax, yes. I'm getting through this. It's a wee screen, so
Bear with.
see, when you've got no words to say, well, as I say, I've came all this way for a reason, and I'm not going away without saying nothing. Aye. So, nuclear weapons, we can get rid of that. Aye, and 600,000 folk. We could power the entire UK with renewable energy for 2 billion, cost a year. I remember in 2016 that Scotland produced 106% of its of its natural green energy in one day. 106% of the output. I mean, that's way over margin. We don't even use that. We don't do that every day, obviously, because we kind of screw everything up. But that's what we're capable of, and we're building on it. We've got a renewable energy source which we can export to the world, and it's green and it's friendly. We've got oil. Yeah, we've got oil. But that's a sideline. Oil's a wee bonus, and we don't want oil because we're becoming green. Oil, we've got to phase that out, but we still have it. That's a problem we will have to solve once we get independence. Aye. So, we go back to 2014, when we were promised Devo Max. Remember Devo Max? That was like a promise of full devolution for Scottish government in a parliament, which meant that Scotland would be able to fully govern its own matters. And that is, if we voted no. We voted no. We voted no. Because we were promised 350 million in the NHS. We voted no because we would be a part of Europe and we'd stay a part of Europe. We voted no because we were promised more powers. Of course, I'm saying we voted no because 50% of Scotland, who are we, voted no. And what we've been doing at home again is trying to persuade these no voters to vote yes. the old question, give me one good reason why we should stay in the United Kingdom. You never get an answer. You get a bit of a guffaw, you get a bit of slagging off, you never get a straight answer, and you're looking at that as if to say, come on, man. When we tried to prevent Scotland from having to leave the EU, the UK government went to the Supreme Court and had them prevent Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland from having any further participation in negotiations. So much for democracy. If that seems a bit boring and political. The Supreme Court was only set up in 2009 as part of an attempt at constitutional reform, which is a polite way of saying to gain more control over Scottish matters. Scots law, the ancient Scottish legal system, which has been continuously dismissed by the UK government, has our Parliament's sovereignty. We've been told over and over again that we are a part of a family, yet throughout history we have been abused and used by the UK. In World War II, there was a contingency plan to put in place by Whitehall that said screams from Scotland will be ignored in the event of an invasion, and the protection of England is more than that of Scotland. Now you can see we've been having this over decades, centuries, and we accept it. Why are we accepting this? We're a little nation, low population, we've got such assets that billionaires can only dream of, and we've got the climate instead of deserts to be billionaires ourselves. Not personally, but as a country. I hope I said that right. We've got it.
Makes some sense.
We've got the legal system, which has been on the go for hundreds of years. We've got the best education system in the world, regardless of what the Tories are saying at the moment. We're the best educated people. Even stupid Scots people are smart Scots people. I'm sorry to say that, because they know what they want. But for centuries we've been undermined by the English, just robbing, just another part of the British Empire as it is. But the British Empire is dying. I mean, there's no countries left. The only country we've got to left cling on to rob off of is ourselves. Are we not smart enough? Are we not smart enough to even see this? I don't understand. You're standing here because you know. Right. I'm going. Is that hopefully over? Yay. Right. So I can give this wee put on a bag. I can thank you for listening to me, because honestly, when I came here, my speech had been left at home and I didn't know what to say. And I hope I wasn't too boring and I was mildly entertaining. But this weekend, as I say, since I've been here, Theresa May is leaving. And yay, Theresa May is leaving. We might have another demon afterwards. And we've just had our European elections. Scotland will be getting the word on Monday, because the Western Isles, unfortunately, because they're a God-fearing race, won't do the count. You'll know yourself. Aye. And so we'll hear on Monday. There's people crying, fix, 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 but it's not Britain, it's Europe-wide, so we trust Europe more than we trust Westminster. Thank you.
Well done, sir. I think the core of his message there was that we're big enough, we're smart enough, and we're rich enough.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the reasoning from people saying, well, we don't like the fight for Scottish independence because you hate the English. Hell no. It has nothing to do with it. I mean, basically, in fighting for Scottish independence, we actually are fighting for independence for Northern Ireland, for Wales, and for the English. it's the Westminster system that's corrupt. And we actually, our next performer is an Englishman. He's been supporting the event here in The Hague for the last 3 years now. Graciously given up a room for people to crash in. And he actually is playing now for the first time at the rally. So, Mr. Fred Gold.
Thank you, Raymond. You don't get any Scottish songs from me, you don't get any rebellion, just a little bit of light entertainment in between all this serious shit. Is that enough? Yep. Is that enough? Yep. Money in your pockets and a top hat on your head, hot food on your table and a blanket on your bed. By today's gray skies and tomorrow only tears, you have to wait till yesterday's here. I'm going to New York City, I'm leaving on a train, and if you wanna stay behind, wait till I come back again. By today's gray skies and tomorrow only tears, you have to wait till yesterday's here. If you wanna go you have to say goodbye. All our dreams come true, baby, up ahead. It's out where your memories lie. Yeah, the road is out before me, and the moon is shining bright. But I want you to remember as I disappear tonight. By today's gray skies and tomorrow only tears, you have to wait till yesterday's here. If you wanna go where the rainbow ends, you have to say goodbye. All our dreams come true, baby, up ahead. It's out where your memories lie. Yeah, the road is out before me, shining bright. What I want you to remember as I disappear tonight. By today's gray skies and tomorrow only tears, you have to wait till yesterday's here. By today's gray skies and tomorrow only tears, you have to wait till yesterday's here. you. You drink your coffee and I drink my tea, and we're sitting here playing so cool, thinking what will be will be. It's getting kind of late now. I wonder if you stay now, stay now, stay now, stay now. Will you just politely say goodnight? I move a little closer to you, not knowing quite what to do, and I'm feeling our fingers and thumbs to spill my tea, upsetting me. It's getting kind of late now. I wonder if you stay now, stay now, stay now, stay now. Or will you just politely say goodnight? And then we touch, oh, too much. This moment has been waiting for a long, long time. The shiver makes me quiver. This moment I'm so unsure. This moment I've been waiting for. Is it something you've been waiting for? Waiting for too. Take up your eyes, bare your soul, gather me to you and make me whole. Tell me a secret, sing me a song, sing it to me in the silent dawn. It's getting kind of late now. I wonder if you stay now, stay now, stay now, stay now. Why will you just politely say goodnight? Or will you just politely say goodnight? Or will you just politely say goodnight? Years and my life is still trying to get up this great big hill. I hope for a destination. I found out early when I knew I should, that this whole world's made of this brotherhood of man. For whatever that means. Sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I'm feeling a little peculiar. I wake in the morning and step outside, and I take a deep breath and I get real high, and I scream at the top of my lungs, what's going on? Yet I say, and I pray. Oh my God, as I pray every single day for a revolution. Say I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out great big hill I hope for a destination. Thank you. Okay, I finished with one of my own songs. Kind of fun that you know ain't right. One day you're gonna change the things you do, but you can't change the way my heart beats for you. No, you can't change the way. You can't change the way. No, you can't change the way that my heart beats for you. One day you're blonde, the next year black, you're covered in curtains, they never match. Change the way you look your whole life through, but you can't change the way my heart beats for you. Now you can't change the way, can't change the way. No, you can't change the way that my heart beats for you. You can change your mind 1,000 times a day. First you see it like this, then some other way. You can change your point of view, but you can't change the way my heart beats for you. I see you driving in some big flash fancy car. Looks like you and me ain't going so far. You can trade in your life true, but you can't change the way my heart beats for you. Now you can't change the way, can't change the way. No, you can't change the way that my heart beats for you. Thank you very much. Good luck, Scotland.
That's better. Thanks, Fred. Our next speaker was actually supposed to be here last year as well. He couldn't make it because of health issues. I'm really happy that he is here now. Martin Keatings.
This is either going to go well or it's going to go catastrophically wrong. I had written a speech for today, and I decided actually against it to tear it up this morning and just say it. It occurs to me that everything we've tried to do since the first SNP government was really elected, has been spit and polish. You know, we've always tried to stay on the right side of everything. You know, we can't give the media anything to found on. And the end of that is it kind of ends up losing its humanity. So I thought instead today I would just say what I want to say rather than what I've practiced saying, if that makes any sense. What I'd like to talk about is probably one of the most fundamental things in our movement, and that is choice. And in that spirit, it occurs to me that our entire movement is based on exactly that, the right to choose. So I'd like to start not by just going ahead and launching into it, but I actually want to ask your permission to speak first. It occurs to me that we're all seeking to have the right of consent, so I think it would be appropriate first to ask you, is it okay to go ahead and address you? Yeah? Great. I'm wanting to take, this, like I said, this is either going to go 100% right or it's going to go catastrophically wrong. But I want to take you on a wee journey. And I don't want you to follow my journey. What I want you to do is imagine what you've done in your own head. And I want to take you back a week ago. And as we go through, I'm just going to explain some of the choices that I've made in my daily life. But I'd like you to think about the choices that you've made in your daily life. Now, the very first rally that ever happened, which was in Edinburgh, Alex Salmond, when obviously he was the first speaker, and his first words were that the right to govern is the right to choose. So I think it's appropriate to go down that one. So, simple choices. Come invited out here by Raymond, thank you very much. Do a book with KLM, do a book with British Airways, do a book with EasyJet. Well, that's obvious, you know, I've always liked the colour orange, so let's go with EasyJet, you know. You get EasyJet where the planes are orange and so are the stewardesses. So, across we come, we arrive in Holland, and then the next choice is, do I take a bus? Do I take a tram? Do I take a train? Well, that's an easy one. I was meeting with Raymond and was with Pat, and we took the train. Arrive here. Another choice that I've obviously made is, which hotel do I stay in? And of course, that choice was an informed choice because I asked for a recommendation. And Raymond says, well, this hotel is right next to where you're going to be. Then we go out last night. We're at the bar, and the choices are, do I have the cold, refreshing glass of Coke, or do I have the double whiskies after not drinking for 2 years? Perfectly reasonable choice for any adult to make. Now this morning, I wake up and it's breakfast time. Do I have the toast, or do I have the cereal, or do I have the continental breakfast, or the Dutch waffles? Well, that's an easy choice. I'm just going to have the coffee, see the last decision that I made. Too much alcohol, and obviously coffee for me. And it occurred to me, the one thing that I didn't have in these daily choices that I make was some bureaucrat standing behind me saying, you don't want to do that. Although it might have been wise at the bar, because, well, I subsequently regretted it. Choice is fundamental to who we are as a people. And I'd like to thank some people for some of the choices that they've made in their life here today. I'd like to thank the police officers who made the decision to go into the police force and are here today for us. I'd like to thank Netherlands for Independence and the guys for choosing to put on this event. And when you strip away everything and you look at it, we are, as a people, built based on the choices we make in everyday life. But choices are not the end game. Choices are the beginning. One choice leads to another choice, leads to another choice. The difference between Scotland as a people, with our government, etc., and Westminster is, one is based on the predilection of giving the choice to the people. in their own future. Whereas the other one is based on the denial of choice. And that can be summed up in things like universal credit. Now, Westminster, when it brought in universal credit, could have turned round and says, you know what? We will create it in a way which gives a person a decent income so that they have the freedom to make choices and they have the freedom to go into a job that they feel passionate about and that they want to do. And that'll make them a productive member of society. It'll make them want to do the job because, yes, the state might have to supplement them for just that little bit longer. But they'll get a job that will last them a lifetime, and it'll be one that will fulfill them, and it'll be one that not only gives them an income, but gives them a way of life at the same time. But the way that universal credit has been set up is the limitation of choice. You will take this job that we offer. You will take this work fair job. You will be forced into a situation where that you feel out of control. You will have your choices taken away with you. You will be left emotionally distraught. It's all about the limitation of choices. Security is a word that's often used to describe not protecting people, but the limitation of choice. You must give up your choices, your rights as a person, because it's necessary for security. Security in the United Kingdom is opening your curtains and seeing oil rigs off the coast, the choice of a malevolent Westminster government to give your money to oil companies rather than say, no, you will pay a fair rate of tax so we can derive that money and use it for the benefit of everybody, not just the 1%. Security is having nuclear weapons to protect our food banks. Over 1 million, 1.5 million, if I remember correctly now, food parcels were given out in the United Kingdom. The limitation of choice doesn't just extend to small segments of society. For instance, carers. Limitation of choice. Carers are the worst paid people in the UK, but the 1.7 million carers in the United Kingdom save the state £136 billion a year. And to put that in perspective for you, that's more than the combined budgets of the NHS of England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. If every carer, unpaid carer, tomorrow turned around and said, I'm not doing this anymore. You'll pay me a commensurate wage for the contribution that I give society as a whole, the entire health and social care system would collapse instantaneously. It would not be a thing. But you never hear carers being talked about at elections. Why do you never hear them talking about it? Because it's the dirty little secret. They know that the choice of a family member to look after another family member, it doesn't come from financial concerns. It doesn't come from material concerns. It comes from the love of one person for another person. The duty that you know you have to protect that person you're caring for. And that is another choice. Westminster chooses to use that to manipulate those people. There are many ways that carers, especially, could be remunerated that would not put a burden on the state. In fact, it could actually be done in a way that would act as a stimulus package for the entire country. It's all about the limitation of choice, because when your choices are limited, it makes it easier to transfer wealth from the poor to the 1%. The retention of control is ultimate. And it occurs to me that every single one of you here today made the choice to be here because you want the choice in your life. You want the choice to turn around and say, you know what, I want to be able to go to my government and say, you will do this, or you will do that, or I would like you to do this for the benefit, not just of me, but for everybody else. There's one group of people that I'm going to single out here, and this is and I apologise for using this term because as far as I'm concerned, I am a European. But for the purposes of I'm going to say it, I have the deepest respect for European citizens that have come to Scotland. Why? Choice. They made the choice. If you think about it, they made the choice to choose Scotland over every other country, the 196 recognised countries in the world. Out of all of them, they chose to come to Scotland. They chose to contribute to our society. They chose to work, to live, to make friends, to build, to help us build our country. They chose to give us, to provide imperative services, regardless of what they do, within our nation that benefits us. And the reason I'm singling out this particular group is because what happened at the European elections the other day was absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The Scots that chose to spread themselves out amongst the European nations and move out to Holland, to Germany, to Denmark, they've spread themselves out. 2 million for, 2 million UK citizens and 2 million Europeans has kind of gone the other way. But they chose to go out, see the world, and that knowledge and that experience will eventually come back to us in dividends in Scotland, because we'll take the best parts from that, which will allow us to enrich ourselves. It's fundamental. The right to choose is fundamental to who we are as Scots. To control our own lives, to make the choices that benefit not just us, but everybody else within our country. And the right to vote, in fact, no, I'm not going to say the right to vote. The right to change one's mind is fundamental to the right to vote, which comes again to the choice. So when a Tory stands up and says, "We told you no more referendums," well, I'm sorry, I've got something to tell you. There's a fundamental to have the right to vote, and the right to vote is, by its very nature, a choice, and within that is the right to change one's mind. We didn't know that the Tories were going to be economic vandals and complete psychopaths over the last 5 years. And that leads us back to other choices. The 17 promises that were made to us in 2014, not a single one delivered. That was a choice. Gordon Brown standing up, knowing damn well he didn't have the power to implement it, and saying full fiscal autonomy, home rule for Scotland. You know what? We get stick for giving him the poke. But the fact of the matter is, that was a choice he made. He made that choice. He had the right to make that choice. And him making the choice denied us the right to make our choices the way we see fit. And that really is the story. The first thing that the British state, the British government does when it goes into a country is removes the right to choose. So, to surmise, when it comes to the next referendum, I don't want to see, you might agree with me, you might not, I don't want to see polished speeches and, oh, we can't say that and we can't do that. Choice is human. The only way that Scotland is going to become independent is through humanity. The only way that we are going to become independent is to tell not the facts and the figures, but our individual stories, our individual choices in life, and the reason why we have chosen to support the Yes movement, the reason why we have chosen to make Scotland an independent nation. Identify with people that are similar to yourself. Strike up a conversation. Drop the walls of all the bureaucratic nonsense. Drop the walls of the, drop the walls of all this political correctness. Talk to them one-on-one, because referendums aren't won by mass campaigns with big billboards and all that rubbish. They're one-to-one conversations. So I'm asking you to make the choice to go out and tell people. You don't have to be afraid. You can make the choice for yourself. Make the choice to do the research. Make the choice to give yourself choice. And I guess that's all I can really say.
Well done, sir. Superb. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Martin Keatons of Forward as One. You'll see him in the March in August.
Our next musician is Mr. Callum Carlisle.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? Okay, I'm going to play you a couple of songs, but first I'm going to talk about how the Yes Movement communicates. How the Yes Movement communicates laterally. And I know that the communication the Yes Movement does is by and large to and from the people of Scotland, and that the fight for independence will be won on the doorsteps and in the streets. But the Scottish independence movement also communicates quite a lot using the internet, and it relies rather heavily on proprietary platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. And that's something which could become a weakness for the Yes movement, because as we enter the campaign for a second Scottish independence referendum, we might find ourselves in a situation where it's not just the mainstream media which are telling people every day and every evening in their homes that Scottish independence is a loser and, it'll never work and so on. But the privately owned mainstream social media websites may also take the same view. We've already seen that Facebook has no scruples at all about running social experiments on its users for the benefit of its advertisers. We know about their involvement in Cambridge Analytica. And we also know that they are starting to remove content from Facebook for no reason other than its political nature. We saw that in one or two other countries recently that had elections, and Facebook, if I remember, removed hundreds of posts from Indian political activists when they had their election. I think a similar thing might happen to Scotland. So, because of this, it occurred to me that Scotland needs its own separate communications network for the Yes movement, so I have set one up at www.yesbook.scot, and I invite everyone to participate in it. At the moment, it's a small discussion website. I encourage Yes groups to join as the campaign gets underway. I imagine all of the local Yes groups will become active again, and hopefully the platform I've set up will exist even if there are bumps in the road from more mainstream sources. So, it can be used in a number of different ways. My idea is that campaign material can be shared, like, for example, if one local group has a particularly convincing leaflet on a subject such as pensions or currency, they can share it laterally with other groups across the country. That was something very difficult with Facebook groups and Facebook pages last time. It means that if, for example, the admin of a popular group such as Hands Around Scotland receives a 3-day ban from Facebook for breaching community policies, they can just move right over to yesbook.scot, publish their content or whatever it is, and their friends can share that right onto Facebook and Twitter and so on their behalf, and so on and so on and so on. So that's it. That's my little plug for it, yesbook.scot. Maybe nobody will sign up. Maybe nobody will use it. but my fervent hope is that it can be my tuppence worth towards helping Scotland achieve its independence. And on that note, I'm going to play a couple of songs as well. And this first one I wrote myself about 15 years ago about Scottish independence. Let's hope we've got the... Yeah, that's all right. Guitar and voice levels are all right. A piper on Prince's Street plays for the tourists who throw him their coins in reply. His Robertson tartan is a brown battered remnant of a Scotland that's long since gone by. One day our wee country will again be a nation. I belong to Scotland, and in Scotland I'll bide. Well, I'll wait for that day with anticipation. They've taken our freedom, but they'll not take our pride. Well, it's said that without the support of Great Britain, our economy wouldn't be strong. But we've yet to be given the chance we deserve to prove that that theory is wrong. One day our wee country will again be a nation. I belong to Scotland, and in Scotland I'll bide. Well, I'll wait for that day with anticipation. They've taken our freedom, but they'll not take our pride. Well, we're facing the future, and like it or not, there's decisions that have to be made. To survive as a colony of a long-fallen empire is something I would happily trade. One day our wee country will again be a nation. I belong to Scotland, and in Scotland I'll bide. Well, I'll wait for that day with anticipation. They've taken our freedom, but they'll not take our pride. Thank you. Can we do one more song? Can we do one more? Two more? God, you're spoiling me. Okay, in that case... Yeah, let's see. Let's try that one. This is a Robert Burns song, which you may recognise. Fear. I'm going to have to just put that up a bit. Hang on a second. We'll just pretend that never happened. All right then. Farewell to our Scottish fame. Farewell our shan't glory. Farewell even to your Scottish name, safe in shall story. Our sacrants are the solving psalms, force or guile could not subdue these money warlike ages. Well, it's rocked now by a coward few for hireling traitors' wages. Ah, the English steel we could disdain, secure in valor's station, but the English gold has been a bane. Such a parcel of rose, a nation. Had seen the day the treason thus could sell us, that my old grade had lain in the clay wi' Bruce and loyal Wallace. Ah, but death and power till my last hour, I'll make this declaration: we are bought and sold for English gold. Such a parcel of rose, a nation. Such a parcel of rose, such a parcel of rose. A parcel of rose. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to say one more. Oh, I'm going to sing, do you know what I'm going to sing? I'm going to sing one of the songs which I think could be a contender for Scotland's national anthem, if Scotland were indeed an independent nation. And there are a lot of contenders for this position, so I don't expect to get into an argument about what's the best song for Scotland's national anthem, but this is one, which is a traditional pipe tune, I believe, lyrics written by Cliff Hanley in, I think, 1961 or thereabouts. And it's called Scotland the Brave. Falling, hear, hear the pipes are calling, loudly and proudly calling, down through the glen, there where the hills are sleeping, now feel your blood a-leaping, high as the spirits of the old Highland men. Scotland, my mountain hame, high may your proud banners gloriously wave. Land o' my high endeavour, land o' the shining that beat beneath Scottish skies. Wild are the winds that beat you, staunch are the friends that greet you, bright as the light that shines in fair maidens' eyes. Towering in gallant fame, Scotland, my mountain hame, high may your proud banners gloriously wave. Land o' the high endeavour, land o' the shining river, land o' my head forever, Scotland the brave. Land o' the high endeavour, land o' the shining river, land o' my head forever, Scotland the brave. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to our last speaker, we're going to do the raffle. So anyone who has tickets, get them out. Get them out. Oh, gaat het live? We got a couple of nice prizes. Well, I think nice prizes. First up is a small collection of indie stickers. Number 2.
Waar deze?
Ja. The next one is a we put it down as an SMP goodie bag. That's more of an SMP bag with some goodies in it. Number 42.
I think it's you. You think it's me?
Nobody, number 42.
Are we getting any SNP supporters?
Oh, she didn't want to say.
It's kind of good home.
The next one, we got a selection of 4 yes to any 2 bracelets. The ones that I have on here. Number 32.
Number 32. I think that's me again.
It happens so. Nobody.
32.
32.
Okay. It's me.
It's me again. The next one, a yes to any 2 flag. Saltire flag. Number 21.
21?
21.
I'm looking.
Nobody. Again.
Who's still got a flag?
Can you not just keep them up there? It'll save me from
The next one, a yes to any to goodie bag. And again, it holds a flag, I think.
Rumble your numbers.
I did. But again, number 41. And I'm sure. You got it again, right?
That's a gift.
Thank you. Die dingen hebben we gedaan. Dankpostdingen. Ja. Yeah. We got an extra one. Later on, we're all gonna go to Ned Kelly's, and one drink on me. Yeah. We're Dutch. We're cheap.
And they say us Scots are tight.
Get it? That's where you get
43. It might not be me. 43. So you get a drink on him when you get back to Ned Kelly.
And the last one is a Celtic art piece by Kevin Larkin.
That's the one I wanted.
Number 20.
Oh, dear.
You gotta be kidding me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm keeping this one.
That's what you get when you buy 25. All right, after getting so many prizes, he needs to speak now. Pat, you're up.
Thanks.
And that's the most productive day I've ever had, I think. Thanks, folks. I'm Pat Lee. I'm a former co-convener of Solidarity, hence the reason I gifted Colin the SNP bag. But that's a point we really need to make here. Scotland's independence is not about any single party. It is solely about, as Martin eloquently put, the choice of the Scottish people to determine their own destiny. Now, I'm the one for writing speeches. Very rarely do I do it. People are more eloquent than myself. And I came across this, I'm not sure if it's actually Nicola Sturgeon's words, but I hope it is, because it explains explicitly why Scotland should have its independence. So it's under the heading of Piers Morgan had a new one ripped by Nicola Sturgeon this morning. Here is more on the theme she aired. Morgan states, "Oh, but you're not independent within the EU." And Nicola replies, "Under 15% of legislation in Scotland is EU derived. 65% comes from Wastmonster. Independence from the UK gives us 85 instead of just 20% control. And I'm kind of fond of human rights and workers' rights and health and safety and the social chapter and environmental protection." Lost my part. environmental, EU health card, visa-free travel, and all the things we get from the EU, which Westminster Tories will rip up from us the second they are re-elected in 2020. And yes, the subsidies too, which you can be sure will not be replaced by the 2 trillion in debt UK government. Brussels does not collect all taxation, then decides how much it wants to give back. Westminster does that to Scotland. Brussels does not even set the rate of VAT. Westminster does that. Brussels doesn't have the power to insist we keep nuclear weapons on the Clyde. Westminster does that. We don't need to ask Brussels permission to have a referendum on EU membership, but we have to ask the UK Parliament's permission to have an independence referendum. We wouldn't have to ask Brussels for permission to regulate our broadcasters, but we had to ask Westminster to set up a Gaelic TV channel for our Gaelic population. Because Conservative MPs in Surrey have to be consulted before punters in Portree can watch TV shows in their own language. And that doesn't apply to Catalonia, who are in the fortunate position of having their own TV stations. But the state can close them down at any time. That's choices. Brussels wouldn't have to be able to commit Scottish Defence Forces to illegal wars in Iraq, but Westminster decides who we go to war with. Brussels doesn't have the power to tell us how much the state pension for elderly would be, or what administrative hoops disabled people would have to jump through in order to get the benefits. Only Westminster does that to Scotland. Europhobes say the UK being in the EU were dictated to by an undemocratic superstate, but that ironically fits the description of Scotland's place within the UK. If you're looking for an unelected lawmakers, look no further than the 800 plus members of the House of Bloody Lords. We would have more influence than we have now. We have almost none, as has been seen over the past 3 years. As we would have more MEPs, about 12 instead of the current 6, and would take our turn as president. Oh, and then, not forgetting, we would have representatives on all the ministerial committees and any other committee you could care to think of in the EU. Council of Europe, the European Council, and we'll have our own representatives on the fishing committees. Instead of some inbred land-loving Tory lord to look after our interests, none of which we have at the moment. So compare it with the UK's influence is utter tosh. So ahead of Brexit, you're also arguing that the UK is not independent, or Latvia, or Sweden, or France, or Denmark, or Germany, or Austria, or Greece, or Belgium, or Bulgaria, Estonia, Malta, and Luxembourg, etc. They are not independent. They are independent, and they have a voice at the table. Are you arguing that the UK should leave NATO and the UN and any other supranational bodies, as you have had to cede some national sovereignty for the common good of these organisations? Yet, as we've talked about it in more detail before, an independent Scotland within the EU would still have far more power than it currently has. We would gain control over the following from Westminster: benefit and social security, immigration, defence, foreign policy, employment, broadcasting, trade and industry, nuclear energy, oil, gas, coal and electricity, consumer rights, data protection, and our very own constitution. Because if you're not, Your argument is inconsistent at the best and Daily Express sourced at the worst. I'm going to finish with another pro from a guy called Chick McGregor. Most of you within the independence movement will know of Chick. He writes some fantastic stuff, but I came across this and it rung the bell. It's under the heading of Done Asking and Done Being Told. Independence marches have been going on now for several years, and they have all been happy and peaceful affairs full of smiles and hope. Remarkable, considering that there is no collusion from the state or advertisement from the state-owned, controlled media. The people who organise and run the massive independence marches are volunteers, and the people who attend them, in their tens of thousands, are asked to attend through social media and word of mouth. Despite the concerted efforts of the media and certain local authorities to play down and prevent those independence marches from ever going ahead, they are actually getting bigger and happier. The absence of proper journalism in Scotland is deliberate and designed to contain the democratic process and silence the sovereign will of the people. Instead of truthfully recording history, the media in Scotland are complicit in trying to pervert and manipulate it. The Scottish media, in particular, have long since prostituted out their journalistic integrity and any credibility and professionalism to the state, unashamedly pulling the strings, dictating the agenda. As much as the so-called media willingly manipulate the facts, they just cannot manage to hide the truth. When over 150,000 joyful and peaceful marchers descended onto the largest city in Scotland, and people notice, especially when that beautiful city is a yes city. All along the route, thousands watched and tens of thousands marched by with awe and inspiring dignity and noble integrity. Even those people in Glasgow on the day of the march who do not share the dream of Scottish independence saw the marchers in all their colourful splendour. Tourists saw them and filmed them on their phones and sent those images throughout the world in an instant. Thousands of happy bystanders waved their own saltires as they applauded from the pavements and cheered from the bridges and tenement windows. They too filmed the amazing sight of over 150,000 independent supporters with just as many saltires waving in the Saturday breeze. If it was the intention of the Quisling media to prevent the rest of Scotland seeing Independence March in all its glory, then they did not achieve that aim. The Yes movement is savvy to all the dirty tricks of the Union, and its servants are well practiced at circumnavigating the British state and its biased media. Just as well, they don't rely on public broadcasters such as the BBC, because they have always imposed blanket censorship on such gatherings. When the British Broadcasting Corporation eventually reports that ordinary people attended a peaceful protest, they grudgingly concede there was no arrests and deliberately and grossly underestimate the numbers. Unionist marches, usually otherwise known as orange parades, can guarantee media coverage, especially from the BBC. Instead of playing down the numbers as they do with independent supporters, the BBC and the British tabloids use trick photography and skillfully manipulate the camera angles to suggest that the crowds were massive. Where am I? turning dozens into thousands. The unionist marchers themselves are not as populated by random members of the public from all walks of life, like the independence marchers, but mostly by members of organisations such as the Orange Order. Many of people on those unionist marches seem bitter and angry, which is strange considering they apparently won the referendum in 2014. Perhaps the reason so many unionists in Westminster or Scotland seem so bitter and angry is that the victory they boast about just did not go to plan. At the last independence referendum, that victory looked decisive, and with iconic leader of the independence movement falling on his sword within hours of the result, all seemed to be falling into place for the triumphant unionists. They could have been forgiven for thinking that the heartbroken independence movement was crashing to the ground, and that the architects of independence were imploding around them as they sipped on their victory champagne. To be quite honest, many of us who shed a tear of sadness in the early hours of the 19th of September 2014 felt the same way, but for very, very different reasons. Alas, pessimism and their optimism were short-lived, as the architects of independence and the vast Yes movement collectively brushed ourselves down and carried on with even more determination than before. Instead, it was the unionists in Scotland that imploded, and the Quisling unionist leaders followed their former First Minister of Scotland by falling on their sword, but with considerably less dignity. Instead of support for Scottish independence evaporating, as many unionists had predicted, the exact opposite has happened. Not only has support for independence remained solid in the 5 years that have passed since the last independence referendum, but has actually increased thanks to the self-inflicted unionist disaster that is Brexit. I have been on many marches, and I have marvelled at the determination and the dignity of the diverse group of people who refuse to give up on our shared dream. The smiles are even broader, and the marches are still happy and well behaved, but something has changed. And you can see it in the smiles in the eyes of those who assert their right to peaceful protest. It may have been a combination of broken promises of Westminster, or the arrogance and contempt that Parliament has shown the people of Scotland in the last 3 years of Brexit. But the mood in Scotland has changed. The self-appointed imperial masters in London know it. Through the smiles and the delightfully infectious enthusiasm of the independence marchers is a quiet but steely resolve that we are done asking, and we are done being told. By 2020, there will be a second Scottish independence referendum. By 2020, we will have grown from the 45 to the 65 and the 70 and the 75, because we were sold a pup when they sold us the vow, and that cannot be used again. So I say to Westminster, and I say to Nicola Sturgeon, come join the Yes movement in full, because our independence does not rely on the SNP solely. It does rely on the SNP to be the political arm, but we are massive, and we have grown bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the end of 2020, we will have our day. Thank you very much. That was a wee bit of reason. I was getting carried away there. Amanda, do you want to try it? We done a wee song 2 years ago prior to the Hope Over Fear rally in Glasgow. And we stuck it on, Ian Russell from Livestream. Ian stuck it on Facebook. And it attained something like 87,000 views. So we did this in a studio with help.
You're missing Pete.
And we're missing one of our compatriots, Pete Scally, the rockin' rebel. So, are we going to feed it through the...
No. Technical issues and all that.
Okay.
That's actually our one. That is our one, is it not? Oh, is that one?
We sang, folks. We thought it was the karaoke version with the vocals. Lastly, ladies and gents, thank you all very much for coming here. It is small.
We're being invaded by a hostile species. Come on.
Technicals. Thank you all very much. We're small, but we are symbolic. Saralda Gabra.
Apologies, folks. I hope you enjoyed that wee laugh. Right, that's. Do you want to say something to close it down? So they'll cover it. They'll cover it. Right, folks. That's us. I'm going to hand you over to Raymond here to say a few words before we close down. I hope you've enjoyed that. It was fun for me, and it was. Is Amanda going to sing? Are you going to sing? Oh, we have a wee extension. We've got Amanda Brown going to give us a couple of songs just to close show.
One of these is really, really special, so I couldn't go without doing it, to be fair. I'm quite tall. I'm going to just move this if that's okay. Thanks. Okay. Oh, yeah, mine needs one of those. Is it that one there? Yeah, I'm not going to get very far without that, am I? Right, so this one I couldn't go without doing. You'll probably know why, so I'm just going to get on with it. Okay. Tuner's still on, that's my thought. You're not getting me again. Okay. This is what I call a mishmash. Sorry, just changing setting. I don't know if you can see changes that have come over me these last few days. I've been afraid that songs that made me think about where I came from, and that's the reasons why I seem so far away today. Knew you'd ask at some stage. I look forward to talking about it one day. Here's a story of a hopeful guess, cause you're part of the reason that I voted yes. When I was your age, we had some discontent winters, like in the fairy tale, there was a witch of Westminster. Power and contrast of a comic book villain. She passed away now, but we didn't say good riddance. Cause by the time she passed, she was a feeble old lady, forgot what she was doing when she was going places. Always treat people how you'd like to be treated, cause the hurt and the anger she left was deep-seated. At school they stopped my free milk. Could be said in a wider context, they stopped my free will. Can always separate feelings from cold facts. On the school bus, I read graffiti saying no poll tax. Now in 1979, people voted to control their own reality. Didn't happen on a technicality. 97, they said it wouldn't work. But I suppose letting us try couldn't hurt. Now in 2014, they asked the question, do you want to be independent? I remember thinking if you didn't answer yes, you could be 18 before they'd ask us again. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me.
Caledonia's been everything we've ever had. I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving, and I lost the friends that I needed losing, found others on the way. And I've kissed the girls and I've left them crying. Stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I've travelled hard sometimes with conscience flying. Somewhere in the wind. This isn't about the colour of your skin, or where you were born, or who you call kin. It's about pure and simple geography, and caring for everyone responsibly. It's about people facing poverty with immunity, and building and supporting our communities. Too many people want off this path we're following. It's time to change how we do politics. Responsibility and independence, leading by examples with the messages we're sending, character traits we want for our own kids one day. So why wouldn't you want them for your country? See, the older you get, the less you see things in black and white. And I'm just trying to do what I think is right. By simply voting yes, the problem isn't solved. But you can't change the world taking no risk at all. Spin doctors spinning stories to control the plot, like Rumpelstiltskin spinning gold from straw. Weaving webs like Charlotte's spider webs, and the trolls under the bridge became Cybermen. In a world of recession, food banks and destitution, world turmoil and very little resolution, violence and terrorism, press wizards cast their best illusions. I was part of a peaceful revolution. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, and I'm going home. If I might become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been the best friend I've ever had. Sitting here before the fire, empty room, the forest fire, flames that couldn't get any higher. They weathered, now they've gone. And I'm standing thinking my way is clear, and I know what I would do tomorrow. Hands are shaking and the kisses flown, and I will disappear. So instead we head our heads controlled by our hearts, but you make your decisions by both and large. As for those who said our hearts were controlled by our heads, we told the story of the goose that laid the golden egg, meaning sticking as we were was the safest bet. To me that was just coming to play group threats. To me that wasn't making sense, because there's a possibility for real change instead. To say your home's where your heart is, from Urwilly Shed to Doctor Who's TARDIS. It's also true that your heart's where your home is, and it won't be that long till you're grown with your own kids. Of course we had reservations, who didn't? Despite the white paper, Scotland's future isn't written. It's wrong that the politicians should be the shepherd or the wolf, because that way is they want you for your flesh or for your wool. The biggest triumph of the 21st century state was to convince us having a dream was a cliche. 1% of the world has 90% of the wealth, and the system says to step on focus helping yourself. Hope you're hearing these thoughts in amazement, and inequity is consigned to the history pages. Don't see another lost generation, rioted, frustrated and cross with their parents. Let me tell you that I time. Caledonia's been everything we've ever had. Caledonia's been everything we've all ever had. Thank goodness I brought strings with me, that's all I'm saying. Thank you ever so much, guys. Thank you. I'm not worthy of you guys. The whole peg came out, didn't it? Did you not know us?
That's my grandfather.
Don't worry. I'll get this restrung. I'll get restrung for Ned.
Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you all at Dead Kelly's later tonight.
Right, folks, can we have a round of applause for the local constabulary, the police? Thank you very much, ladies and gents. Thank you, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. We hope to be back here in a free state in Scotland and take our seat among you as a free nation. Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's the march and rally finished. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a few laughs, we've had a few tears, almost. We're on the road. Freedom's ours. We only need to take it now. Thanks a lot.